Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have 4 super easy, delicious recipes for main dishes that you can make right in your air fryer. Alright, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire, welcome, come on in, make yourselves comfortable. Do you like to cook? Yes, no, even if you don't like to cook, because sometimes, let's be honest, we're not always in the mood for a big elaborate recipe. I love utilizing my air fryer. It cooks things in like half the time. Cleanup is a breeze. It also uses less energy than my oven, which I also think is great. Also, as we're heading into summer and the warmer months, I find that it heats my kitchen a lot less, which is also nice as well. Now, I make tons of things in my air fryer. A lot of times I'm making snack items, appetizers, frozen items, things like that, which I'm sure you probably do too. But I thought I would branch out a little bit and show you guys some really good recipes that can be the centerpiece of your table, some main dishes, some good, meaty, main course foods that are going to be perfect for you and your family. All right, my first recipe is for an entire roasted chicken. And guys, this is gonna blow your mind. It blew my mind. I got a great deal on this chicken, half off at Aldi, and I threw it in my deep freezer, so this was a very economical meal as well. Now, the first half of this is optional. Well, you're gonna wanna take the inside bits out. That's not optional, take those out. I'm actually going to do a dry brine for 8 hours beforehand, but you don't have to do this. I just find that this gives me optimal crispy skin. So this is just my method, but I'll tell it to you. So dry it off as well as you can, put it in a little dish, and then you're going to stab it with a fork and make some holes in it. And this is just going to allow like the air to get in between the chicken and the skin for, as I said, optimal crispiness. So, you know, you don't need to go crazy, but just, you know, stab it sometimes. And now I'm going to take a whole boatload of salt and I'm just covering the whole bird in the salt. It's just regular table salt, nothing fancy. And then I'm going to pop it in my refrigerator for 8 hours. Now, if you're not interested in doing that dry brine, then we'll just pretend it didn't happen and you can start from here, which is drying off the bird again. And now I'm going to season both sides of the bird and season it with whatever you like. You can use like a pre-mixed seasoning, like something that's made specifically for chicken. I mixed a quick one up myself. I've got garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, salt, pepper, some basil, and I'm seasoning both sides. And, you know, be generous with the seasoning. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in my air fryer. I definitely want to grease it because I don't want anything to stick. And I'm actually putting it breast side down first. And this is a preheated 350-degree air fryer. We're going to put it in there for 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, we're going to take it out and we're going to flip it over so that the breast side is up. I kind of had a hard time flipping it over because it was really hot and I didn't want to touch it. But, you know, we made it work. It's not always, you know, super graceful, but this is real life. So anyway, flip it around. You'll notice that I did not use any butcher's twine to tie this bird up, and it's because I didn't have any, and you know what, it worked just fine. So, you know, use it if you want to, but not necessary. And now I'm putting it back in at 350 for another half an hour, so 1 hour total. You're going to want to take its temperature just to double check, because obviously it depends on the size of the bird, how long that's going to take. This reached temperature, it was fine. I let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I carved it up, and you guys, this was like better than a rotisserie chicken. My husband walked in and saw me carving this up. This was actually lunch, and he was like, oh my God, like our jaws were on the floor. This chicken was so delicious. I still, looking at it now, making this voiceover, I can't believe that I made this in an air fryer. The skin was deliciously crispy, and even Desmond got down on a chicken wing. All right, time for our next recipe. We are going to make some chicken nuggets, and these are so easy and pretty pantry friendly. I've got some cheese, some breadcrumbs, I have salt and pepper, 1 egg, and a can of chicken. I love finding good ways to use canned chicken because it's often a good deal and it's pantry friendly, which is great. So I'm using the whole can here and I'm just smashing it up a little bit with a fork. I'm going to add 1 egg. I'm also going to throw in some salt and pepper here. You need more salt than you think you do. I'm just throwing that out there. You could also add garlic powder, maybe some, I don't know, Cajun seasoning would be good. You could really make these to your own taste. I'm also adding some cheddar. I'm using sharp cheddar just because the sharper the better in my books. But I'm using about 2 ounces of shredded cheese here, but you could definitely use whatever cheese you had laying around, or you could skip the cheese altogether if it's not your vibe. And now I'm just throwing that in there and I'm just going to mix it all together. I like this one too because it's pretty customizable and it's kid friendly as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my hands to make little balls. I'm making these like the size of McDonald's chicken nuggets. And I'm just going to put them in the panko breadcrumbs on either side. You could use like Italian breadcrumbs, I guess, but I love a crispy panko. So yeah, it's super easy. You just, toss it in there on both sides. The panko will stick perfectly. Super simple. And it's not raw, which, makes for easier cleanup. And this recipe ended up making like, I don't know, I think there's like 11 nuggets there. It would have been nice if there were 12 just because it's an even number, but 11 nuggets is fine too. And now I'm throwing them in my air fryer, 350 degrees for 15 minutes, and you don't even have to flip these over. You just leave them in there. Super simple. And these were so delicious. I really enjoyed these. And my oldest son, he doesn't really get down on any other chicken nugget besides McDonald's, and these did not pass the test for him. However, my youngest son really liked them, and they are something we'll be adding to our lunch menu quite often, I'm pretty sure. All right, next we're doing meatloaf. And you might be surprised. I normally do not really cook with beef or pork, but I wanted to switch it up. There's a lot of chicken in this video. So I like to use ground beef as well as pork sausage when I make my meatloaf. I think that just makes it so much more delicious. I have an egg, an onion, some breadcrumbs, salt and pepper. I have some Italian seasoning. I also have some minced garlic and a little bit of ketchup. And I know everyone does their meatloaf differently, but this is how I do mine, and I think you'll like it. So the best ratio for me is 3/4 of a pound of ground beef, or normally I use ground turkey, and 1/4 of a pound of sausage. And I think that's just the best sort of combination without it being like too greasy or fatty. I don't know. It just works. So I throw my 1 egg in there as well. I also have this small onion that I'm going to dice up nice and small. I'm going to throw that in there. I'm also going to put probably like a tablespoon of minced garlic in there and probably about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. You could season this however you wanted. Salt and pepper, of course. But you'll notice I'm not really down on measuring very much. Like a tablespoon of ketchup. I know ketchup, it's such a basic ingredient, but it just adds like a sweet tomato-y-ness, and I like it. So now I've got 1/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs, and let me tell you, I didn't have enough Italian breadcrumbs, so I'm taking a little bit of panko and adding it in there too. We're flexible here with our meatloaf. And now I know like it's easier to do it with your hands, but I just like can't get down on the mixing part. I can shape it with my hands, but like I don't want to touch it. So I used a spoon. And now we're going to make 2 mini loaves actually. This will definitely help in the air fryer, just to like cook everything nice and evenly. So I'm making 2 little mini loaves. And yeah, I'm putting it in a greased air fryer. Make sure you grease it, even though this does get a little greasy. And the air fryer is preheated to 350 degrees. And we're going to pop those little baby loaves in there for 20 minutes. And then after the 20 minutes is done, I'm going to go ahead. This is extra. I like to brush on barbecue sauce. And honestly, it was like all caramelized and delicious in the air fryer. It was so good. You could also put on like, you know, maybe some more ketchup or, you know, whatever you kind of like to do if you do a glaze. I just like throwing barbecue sauce on there. I think it's the best. And then I'm tossing it back in for 5 more minutes. And like seriously, the way the air fryer caramelized that sauce on top, it was like a crisp outside and a super delicious tender inside. This made 4 servings. It was so good. And of course, my chives just started growing in my garden. So I went right out there and grabbed some of those to add a little greenery on there, make it nice and beautiful. And of course, we have to serve our meatloaf with some potatoes. So that's how I served it up tonight. And it was so good. And I love meatloaf. It's great for like sandwiches the next day. I know it's like one of those things that some people totally hate, but like I get down on a meatloaf. All right, our last recipe, so easy. We're gonna make some stuffed chicken. I have some chicken breasts. I also have my smoked paprika, salt, pepper, olive oil, and our special ingredient, spinach and artichoke dip. Now you can look up these stuffed chicken recipes that'll have you mix in your cream cheese and all your things. Just go and buy some already made dip. Any cream cheese based dip will work for this recipe, and I know there's a lot of different varieties. I'm doing the spinach and artichoke. So I am slicing them open to make little pockets inside of my chicken breasts. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip them over. I'm going to coat them with some olive oil. This is some super delicious olive oil. It's black truffle infused olive oil. So if you want to get a little fancy, you can kind of up your oil game there, but you know, not necessary, totally. And generously, I'm coating them with salt and pepper. And I'm also throwing a little bit of my smoked paprika on there because I love it. I think everything is better if it's just a little bit smoky. And I'm going to flip them over and do the same exact thing on the other side. You could definitely add maybe garlic powder, onion powder. There's a lot of things you could do to season your chicken, but these 3 things are good enough for me. Now I'm going to open them up and I'm going to scoop in some of that spinach and artichoke dip. I would say I use probably about half a cup per breast, and that seemed to be the perfect amount. Now I'm going to throw them into my preheated air fryer. It's preheated to 375 this time. Of course, coat it with a little cooking spray. And we're going to throw these in for 17 minutes. I didn't need to flip them or anything. I just, you know, set it and forget it kind of moment. So that was really nice. And of course, because all chicken breasts are different sizes and whatnot, be sure to hit it with your thermometer when it comes out just to make sure it hits that 165 so that you know it's safe to eat. And the 17 minutes was perfect for mine. These smelled so good and they look very pretty. This is definitely a nice looking presentation that nobody would ever guess took you like, I don't know, 30 seconds to put together. And the air fryer really does an incredible job keeping that chicken nice and juicy. There was nothing dry about this meal, and my husband loved it. I loved it. This is definitely one I'll keep in my back pocket when we want something delicious at a moment's notice. All right, you guys, those are my air fryer recipes. I think my personal favorite has to be the whole chicken because seriously, I could not believe how good that turned out. It's the only way I'll be making whole chickens for the rest of my life. I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well as any other sort of like meat or main course items that you like to make in your air fryer. I always like to get my ideas from you, so sound off down below. And of course, come on back for more of this type of content, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!